Welcome to Econ Nerds, a celebration and discussion of the week's econ news. Econ news. I always have to stop myself because I used to host an MBA podcast. So I'm used to saying MBA news, but no, we're doing econ news, although last week it was MBA news. I'm your host, Matt Hill. With me, as usual, Ariel Slonim. And we have a guest today, Noah Trudeau from Troy University. Noah, welcome.
Hello, hello, hello.
Tell the listeners a little bit about yourself.
So I'm perfect for this show. If it's econ nerds, I'm one of them. What is the saying? If there is a million econ nerds, I'm one of them. If there's one econ nerd, it's me. If there are no econ nerds, I'm dead. So I am a first generation college student. Started my econ career in undergrad. Got a bachelor's degree in econ from a business school. Liked it so much, went on to get a master's degree from a business school. Liked it so much, I went to get another degree in econ and got a PhD from another business school. I'm originally from New England. My father's family's from New England. Grew up in Alabama. Got my PhD in West Virginia. So if you're wondering where the accent is coming from, there isn't one and it's coming from nowhere. I study occupational licensing and pedagogy, teaching econ. I love talking about it, and I want to find better ways to talk about it.
How did you get into occupational licensing as your focus?
So I was studying my master's degree at Troy University, where I'm now employed. I liked it so much I decided to come back. They liked me enough to hire me, even though they already knew who I was. While I was a master's student, I was working on some master's research, and one of my professors approached me about an interesting kind of law and econ space. And there is a unique occupational licensing quirk in the U.S. that went to district courts, all the way just sub-Supreme Court, where a couple states decided that if you needed to sell caskets, you had to be a licensed funeral director. So there's a couple Institute for Justice cases on this, if that rings a bell. The two cases that came up in district court were Tennessee and Oklahoma. Tennessee, they saw this case and said, well, that doesn't really make sense. You don't need a special license to understand how a casket works. Yes, like that is part of usually the mortuary science space, but like Costco sells caskets. So let's not make that part of licensing. Oklahoma saw it as well and said, no, it's totally fine. You're allowed to make regulations however you want. That's the state's prerogative. If they want to say you have to be a licensed funeral director to sell caskets, you have to be a licensed funeral director to sell caskets. So we have two competing district court cases in licensing, and technically the Supreme Court should decide on this because they are conflicting answers. We have one saying it's okay, one saying it's not okay, but it's just not pretty enough that the Supreme Court will probably ever take it up. So I live for the day that they have to hear the case on whether or not you had to be a licensed funeral director to sell caskets, but I probably will never see that day. And that led me into the occupational licensing space.
And so can you just describe what an occupational license is for people who haven't?
So the best way of thinking about it is the occupational license is a government permission slip to do a job. It regulates the tasks. So when you go to be a massage therapists are licensed in every state. You get your education, you learn how to be a massage therapist, but you got to pass the government test. You got to do the things the government requires of you to be able to practice that. If you do practice without a license, you're doing something illegal. You can be arrested. There are fines involved. Depending on what you're practicing, could be as far as fraud, and you could go to jail. So practicing law without a license, without going through your state's bar, that's a felony. Barbering without a license, you're probably going to get hit with a bunch of fines and you're going to get in trouble, but you're not probably going to go to jail. Ultimately, it is the government, state government saying, we need to make sure you know how to do this thing. You got to pass our requirements or else you can't do this in our state.
Yeah. And so with your casket example, each state then has different, some occupations you need a license in one state and then other states you don't need a license. Is that right?
Yeah. So some states are licensed. So a funeral directors is a funny one. It is licensed in 49 of 50 states plus DC. So 50 out of 51. Colorado was the only state to not license it. And then this past summer, they actually passed a law to put in a license. So they will begin licensing it in 2027. But there are things like hair braiders that are licensed, where if you are just someone who braids hair for a business, some states have a license that they require you to go and get to practice hair braiding. So it's on the individual. It's not something like a liquor license where you sell booze at a bar or at a liquor store. It's not a business license. It is you practicing that act. So some states have it, some states don't, and they get to decide whether they want it or not.
And this can be, this is a barrier to entry. And so this could be very difficult for somebody who's just trying to set up a small business, right? If I'm just like trying to like cut hair or something like out of my garage, then all of a sudden, oh, I got to go get this license. You probably got to go to school for that or something, and maybe it costs a lot of money.
Yeah, 100%. So the three things that we generally look for are education requirements, requiring someone to take college classes or specific classes depending on what type of license. So maybe it's like a specialty class. Look for education requirements, examination requirements, where you have to take a test that the state decides on, and education, examination, and apprenticeship requirements, where you have to study under somebody and practice with a supervisor to be able to fulfill that.
Now, this is a barrier to entry. So this would be like classic case of like existing suppliers like it because it limits competition. But what's the argument like for it? Like what would be their argument, sort of the Baptist argument for like, hey, actually, these things are good. These occupational licenses are something we need.
Great. Yeah, we're talking barriers to entry. That's a great econ term. Let me throw another one to you. Asymmetric information. When you get a service done by somebody, they know if they can do it well, but you don't at first glance. You don't know until you get the haircut if it's going to be a good haircut. So maybe they've done good haircuts in the past and you've seen some evidence of that, but you won't know until your haircut is finished whether or not it is good. So to kind of limit the low quality entries into the market, the state has this requirement, hopefully excluding low effort, low quality people. You end up with hopefully high effort people that are obtaining a license. It's a cost, so it's a signaling mechanism, but it is a legal requirement. So we get that. We get rid of the low quality. When it comes to things like brain surgeons, great. We love that. I don't want a low quality brain surgeon, but when it comes to something like a barber, hair braider, low cost, low harm possibilities, maybe these barriers are a little more cost generating than cost preventing.
Yeah, it's like there's different like levels of ridiculousness, right? Because it's like the haircut, it's like kind of ridiculous because I always say like for men, a bad haircut lasts 3 days. Like the hair grows out, it doesn't matter that much. But as you mentioned, like for sort of like a medical procedure, obviously you would want some sort of third-party certification. For the casket one, that seems patently ridiculous because the customer is dead. Like,
yeah.
It's like, oh, so we got a bad casket. Like the worms got in faster. Oh no,
Yeah, and what's buried, right? So even if you get a bad casket, you don't know.
Yeah. So some of these are just pure rent seeking, where it's like, existing producers are trying to, limit competition. And some you may say, all right, the government's like genuinely solving some asymmetric information problem. They're like the third party certifying like, hey, this person is good. Although the libertarian argument would be like the market would find a way.
Absolutely.
You would find
Kelley
like,
Blue Book exists.
Kelley Blue Book, Yelp reviews, whatever. Even in this world, I was talking to somebody who does like medical devices, and I was like, what's something I would be shocked by? And she was like, there is a very high variance in surgeon quality. Like, and we have no idea. You have no idea.
High.
She was like very high. And I was like, and when you go into surgery, it's not like there's not some place I can look up. Like I might hear from my friends, oh yeah, this guy, he did a great job. But it's like, you don't really know. Thankfully I don't go for surgery that often, but like, it seems to me like pretty hard to tell. And, and a lot of the occupational licensing is just like, it's just onerous. Like you just do a thing and then you like clear the bar. It's like sort of just a rubber stamp.
Yeah, it is incredibly costly depending on what license, depending on what requirements. So that's a loss. It's a barrier. It prevents people from entry. And then it also has regressive tendencies as well. If you don't come from wealth, obtaining a license usually involves going and getting an education, which means postponing income. So it is more difficult to, it is asymmetrically applied across English as a first language. So if you're a migrant into the United States, a lot of these licenses require everything to be done in English, no matter if it's like a test or anything else. So accessibility is a big issue as well.
Even if the job doesn't require English, right? Like
absolutely. You don't need to... And then of course there's a third party as well. So we have Baptists and bootleggers, right? But the third party is kind of like the straw man side of like, oh, but what if? And we want to get ahead of the bad actors out in the environment.
Yeah, a lot of these are sort of like imagining harms though as well, where it's like,
exactly.
What is the harm of a bad haircut? What exactly is the harm? It's like, I don't think my wife has noticed I've gotten a haircut like the last like 35 haircuts I've gotten. So it's like, I don't even think she would notice if I got some like terrible, terrible cut.
We can get retribution for harm through our civil court system as well. We have civil courts for that reason. So why are we not over legislating, but why are we really like putting all of these things in the way just to prevent some harm that might be like if I get a bad enough haircut and I had a big job interview the next day, I can sue my barber for the $500 or something.
You could go on Judge
of
Judy.
income.
You could take
Yeah.
him to small claims court.
Yeah.
You work with the Archbridge Institute, and you've sort of produced this index of occupational licensing, right? Where it's like you're
Right.
sort of ranking the states as like least onerous to most onerous. Oregon's number one. Is that right? Am I reading this right?
Yes, that is correct.
Oregon
So
is the-
most
Oregon's the
onerous
worst.
is ranked number 1. 1 is bad in our index.
Yeah.
51 is
Yeah.
okay. It's good.
Kansas is 51.
Kansas coming
for,
in last.
for listeners.
Yeah.
Are there any patterns that emerge? Like which states make it like basically easy to get these licenses, or don't have less licenses, and what states have like a lot more? I'm just staring at the list and I can see like no patterns.
So this is what's really strange. It is a nonpartisan issue. So both sides of the aisle like and hate licensing. And it is for different reasons that maybe the right side of the aisle wants to push a license. It's a different reason why the left side of the aisle might push it. It's different reasons why they want to remove them. But with the political process, we still can't kind of come to a consensus. We've seen actions from the Trump administration, both Trump administrations, the Obama administration, and the Biden administration, all kind of vilifying occupational licensing and saying, hey, guys, let's look at this, as well as actions from the FTC and other like government agencies. The weird thing that you can say is sort of a trend is regionally. So the Midwest does or what I consider to be the Midwest, which I think is what most people consider to be the actual West. Like I think West Coast, if you are not on the West Coast, you are immediately in the Midwest. So Kansas, Iowa, Nebraska, like middle of the country, like corn country, potato country, that space. Those are the people that seem to have the lowest occupational licensing burden. Then you get into places with very big populations. Places like Texas and California end up pretty high on the list. Places in the Southeast, places in the Southwest, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia end up pretty higher. And then New England and the like mid-Atlantic states all kind of fall together as well. So it seems like it's less of a political thing and more like what are your neighbors doing more than anything.
So I was like,
Yeah, I looked at this list, Noah, before we had you on, and I was shocked to find that New York was 47th, which that means that they're low on occupational licensing.
They are.
Right?
Yeah, I'm happy.
Explain that to me.
I love to talk about this. New York is like the gold star child when it comes to occupational licensing. Not only do they keep it low, they actually manage the things that come through the New York legislature. They also are super transparent about it. So one of the things on my end, where working on this index, is I have to go and look and find that these exist and find that the requirements are there and try to understand what these requirements are, try and understand how different states are defining these different occupations. New York has an entire web page designed to, hey, do you need an occupational license in New York to do what you want to do? These are the occupations that we have licenses for. Click the occupation. Here are all the requirements for that occupation. How many years do you have to go to school? How many hours of continuing education do you need every year to keep it renewed? And it is, frankly, it's beautiful as a researcher who's trying to find these requirements. There are states like Alabama, where I'm a resident of, where it's incredibly difficult to find these requirements because they're buried in the administrative codes. You can't just go to the board's website and say, what do I need to do to become a massage therapist? What do I need to do to become a barber? You have to go read the administrative subsections that say here are the requirements. I just looked at Alabama's CPA requirements today for some of my students, and I had to read the Alabama state code to find them. The CPA board of Alabama doesn't just put those on the front page.
all right, so what can we do?
I got 3 things. First, don't put them in place in the first place. Little late for that for a lot of things, but one of the easiest things to do to stop occupational licensing when it's overly burdensome is to not put it in place in the first place. That means state legislatures need to look at legislatures is the whole board. Either or, they need to look at any licenses being proposed and say, is this necessary? Is there another alternative to it? Private certification, even just public certification. If you want to ensure quality or promote quality, the state, you're welcome to test. You're welcome to put a badge of honor, gold star on them, but forcing people to obtain it might be a little onerous. So that's the first one. Second one, this only works for people who already have licenses and have skills, is universal recognition. As of this year, 28 states have universal licensing recognition laws, meaning they say, hey, if you've got a license somewhere else, we'll take it. We'll streamline this whole process for you. Arizona was one of the first states to do this. Virginia did it last year, this year, West Virginia. And South Dakota did it. Bigger states like Texas and California are holding out, and I wish they wouldn't. But essentially what that does is make it easier to migrate into your state. The physical migration becomes a little easier, physical mobility, and you can get more professionals that way. So that's number 2. That only helps, though, if people have already kind of jumped that hurdle in their own state. Number 3 is what we call sunset review boards. Every state should have one of these if they don't. A sunset review board is actually like a regulatory thing in general. What they do is they go by year or legislative session by legislative session. They look at things that were passed, they review them, they say, are these still applicable? Are these still doing the thing they're supposed to do? And then they make recommendations to the legislature, or if it's a really powerful sunset board, actually has the ability to start cutting that red tape right there. They say, we need to do away with this. We're pushing it through. It's going to take a majority to actually stop us from cutting this. So those are my big 3.
The Sunset Review Board seem to have a lot of power. I don't know if we should let just anybody do those. Maybe you should have a license to be on that board. I don't know. Anything else on occupational license, Noah, before we move on to the news quiz?
I think you would be surprised. I tell everyone occupational licensing, it's 10 times more prevalent than people that work at the minimum wage. So it's 1 in 5 Americans that are working require a license to do what they do. So I have a PhD and I teach college education. I do research, no license for me, crazy. But your friend who's a plumber, your friend who's an electrician, the person who repairs your air conditioning system, your barber, your lawyer, your doctor, all have licenses. Your certified public accountant, when you get your taxes done in April, all have licenses, and even getting a college degree isn't enough sometimes. So I have tons of students who are accounting students who are going on to want to be CPAs, and they might not know that they have to pass the CPA exam, but all of these other requirements are out there, and moving that CPA license from Alabama to somewhere like Georgia or Mississippi, Tennessee, Florida, our bordering states, you just don't get to immediately take it with you. So it's way more prevalent than we give it credit for. And I think the world kind of needs to know that.
Perfect. Thanks. All right. News quiz time. News quiz. Noah, if you're not familiar, this is where Ariel gives us a quiz on the news, and we compete to see how much we're paying attention. Usually obscure econ stuff. Yeah. So go ahead, Ariel.
Okay. We're going to start with the big headline from Tuesday. The BLS issued corrections on jobs, indicating that fewer jobs were created than they initially reported. So this is for the year leading up March to March 24 to 25, right? So their revision, and they've been, in the news for having a lot of revisions recently, which is a normal part of their reporting process. The question is, how large was the revision for the year?
Do I get a
You
buzzer?
multiple choice answers.
Well, I got the number right off the top of my head.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I have the number too. I think I have the number.
Let's
Yeah.
see if
Me and Noah, let's see if we could say it at the same time. 1, 2, 3, 910,000.
Is it 10 or 11?
I think.
Oh no, it's 911. Yeah, it's 911.
Yeah, I think it's. Yeah.
It is 9,911,000.
Yeah.
Was the revision. So, okay.
But not unpredicted. So the Department of Labor expected between 250 and 800,000, I think. And someone else said like about 500,000 is what they were expecting.
Yes, I've seen varying reports of anywhere in that like 500 to 700,000 range.
Wait, but is this a big number? Is this a little number? Like, how should I think about this number? Is this like a all-time record revision, or is it just like this is kind of normal? I mean, it's outside the range of the predicted ones, but
so it's outside of the range of predicted. It's 50% bigger than last year's revision, and it's the largest revision since 2002. So it's not the largest ever revision, but it's the largest revision in 20 years.
Hey, but I thought we have a new BLS commissioner, BLS head, EJ Antoni, PhD. Isn't he supposed to fix this?
He's in office yet?
He's not in office yet? Okay, so I can't blame him?
I don't know.
So,
that's my question.
Right.
Is he officially
Do you have to have a license to be BLS?
Do you have a license? Well, he has a PhD. I don't know if you've gone to his Twitter. He's very clear that he has a PhD. So,
okay.
All right, next question, Ariel.
Okay.
We'll give us a tie. We'll give us a tie for that one. No.
Okay, I'm gonna save my favorite question for the end.
Okay.
So we're gonna jump to Gallup released a poll on America's views of capitalism and socialism. Okay, so there are two related questions. The first is, what percentage of Americans view socialism positively? Okay, so do you want number options, or do you just want to pick a number between 0 and 100? Because that's basically...
Let's do Price is Right. Let's do Price is Right.
Okay, closest
rules.
without going over?
Closest
All
without
right.
going over, yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to go 41.
Oh, that's
See, I give
pretty
you the-
good.
I give you
You
the
think
advantage
it's-
because you could do
I think it's closer to. I could do 1%, right?
Yeah, you could do one.
I'll take a real. I think you're over, but not much.
Okay.
I think it's closer to a third. I was gonna say 26% favorably.
Yeah, that's favorable, right?
Okay, and what are our rules are closest without going over, or
Without
just
going over.
closest
So if I
by-
go over, I'm done. Noah automatically wins.
Okay, well then Noah won because you went over by 2 percentage points.
Wow.
It is 39%
Man.
view socialism favorably. So you were incredibly close, Matt. But
Hey,
by your rules, Noah wins.
That's the way Price is Right works. You don't watch Price is Right, Ariel? Come on.
I don't watch Price is Right. Okay, so now, what percentage of Americans view capitalism positively? We're going to use same rules. Matt, you get to go first again.
There's certainly
No.
not,
Noah
like,
gets to go first. Noah has to go first.
They're
this
certainly
time.
not perfectly like related. If it's like 42% view socialism, it's not 68 the other way. There's a ton of people in the middle that are like,
Yeah,
I don't like. That's how Gallup
know.
polls work, right?
Yeah. They're like, I don't know. I didn't even understand the word that you said. Like, yeah, they're not even going to know what these concepts are.
I'm going to go I'm going to go with the 46% that you thought for socialism is what capitalism actually is. I think it's slightly more than socialism.
You're saying 46?
46.
Well, I'm definitely going to go under that. And again, I could go 1 just to be a jerk, but I'm going to go 35.
Okay, Noah wins again.
What?
It's 54%, Matt.
There we
So
go.
it's down. It used to be 50, and it's down to 54%.
I was thinking coin flip. I wanted
but-
to discount it a little bit though.
So that was a good strategy, going slightly under that 50% mark.
All right.
Okay, we're going to save that. Okay, so the Trump administration, there was an article this week reporting that there are now products that qualify for 0% tariffs if you make a trade deal with the United States. So they're gonna put 0% on certain particular items. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a list, and this is a select all that apply list. Which of these items are eligible for 0% tariffs?
Haircuts.
Bananas?
No, okay, sorry. Go. Okay, bananas. All right.
Mangoes, wine, and tea.
Who's going to get bananas, coffee, mangoes, wine, and tea?
Yes.
This is
so
a
let's-
very random list. Now I'm okay. Well, I'm definitely not going to do mangoes because I don't think Trump knows what a mango is, or I don't think he's like pro mango. Tea, I would go with the same logic. I'm gonna go coffees, bananas, and what was the last one?
Tea was the last one on the list. It's bananas, coffee, mangoes, wine, and tea. I think wine is the one you're forgetting.
Yeah. I'll go wine, coffee, and bananas. No, you can choose to do what.
I agree with wine. I agree with bananas. I'll do coffee and tea. Everything but mangoes. Let's say the Trump administration is unaware what mangoes are.
It would be awesome if it's just mangoes. They're just like, you gotta have our mangoes. Sorry.
Okay, so the correct answer is everything but wine. So there is now.
We should have got that because Trump doesn't drink, so he'd be like, yeah, it's fine. Put the tariff
I have
on
no
wine.
idea if he drinks, but the idea is that
He doesn't
California
drink.
makes wine.
He famously doesn't drink.
Well, wine is one of those products that gets slapped with tariffs because, we're, retaliating against Airbus subsidies, with the EU. The other ones, there's an acknowledgement from the Trump administration that we can't make them in the United States. So even when we want
But
to
we have
onshore
California
production,
wine.
we are not making bananas. We're not going to grow coffee at scale. Mangoes are
Right.
the same way as a tropical fruit. Tea requires like very specific climates. It grows in India or China or Japan, but not in the United States.
Okay.
And so this is a shred of recognition of comparative advantage, that we are better
Mhm.
off for specializing in something else and trading for these products. I looked it up, and it's millions of tons of banana and coffee that U.S. consumers consuming like every year, as a whole, right? They're significant. And so we're much better off trading for those things. But you have to make a deal to then get an exemption for a 0% tariff. So Brazil is supposed to make a deal, and then there would be 0% tariff on the coffee coming from Brazil. Was kind of is the way that I understand this, but I'm not a lawyer, so don't take
It's
this.
eligible. That's
so we sort of so I messed this up because there was like actual level of economic reasoning, which I was not expecting. This is the last question. Okay, last question. Here we go.
We do Jeopardy rules? Do you want to do Jeopardy rules here? We bet?
Yeah, well, I think you have 4 points. I think you have 4 points and I have 1 point. So yeah, I don't think there's any way. I think no. Let's do Econ Nerds rules. This one's worth 5 points. Okay,
great. Yeah.
Okay. New York City developers are suddenly applying for building permits for buildings with exactly 99 apartments to avoid higher wage requirements that kick in on buildings with 100 plus units. Okay, so what are the relevant wage rates in the tax law? This is 5-X in New York City tax law. This is affordable New Yorkers for affordable neighborhoods or something. Like sounds like a great plan. Okay. But there are wage requirements that kick in around the 100 unit mark. So here are your options. What are the different standards before, under, and over 100? No wage requirement other than the applicable state city minimum under for 99 units or less, and $30 an hour minimum over 100 units. No wage requirement. That's A. B is no wage requirements other than the city minimum under 99 and $40 an hour minimum over 100? Or is it 25 an hour minimum under 99 units and 35 above? Or is it $30 minimum under 99 units and $45 an hour above? So this is for construction workers. How do the labor rates change around
if I'm building
100 unit mark?
Okay, so you're basically the first one was 0 or 20, I think. Then was 0
or 30. 0 or 30. 0 40. Or is it closer like 25 to 35 or 30 to 45?
Okay, I'm gonna go. This is New York, and everything's super expensive in New York, so I'm gonna go the last one, 30 and then 45. That's
just a $15 jump though.
$15 jump. I know that's small, but I can't imagine New York not regulating everything. I can't imagine there's no wage requirement under. I think they got to have a wage requirement on both sides of it. So I'm between C and D. So
see, I'm between A and B. I'm trying to decide if it's none. Do you want to take C and D? I'll take A and B, and we know one of us gets right. A and B. Okay, I think there's no wage requirement other than the city minimum wage, and then it's 30 or 40.
Okay. All right, Ariel. Reveal.
Noah, you are on a roll today. It is B. So it is no wage requirement other than the city minimum, which is $16.50 an hour right now. And it kicks into $40 an hour, a minimum rate, if you have 100 plus units.
Wow,
so $33.50 per hour.
It goes up if you have 150 units or more. The wage rate grows up to, hang on, let me find it, $63 an hour. And they have annual 2.5% required raises in there. So if you begin
so this is per unit, like per apartment?
No, this is for the construction workers on a building that has more than 100 units. You have to pay every worker now a $40 minimum an hour.
I wonder if they're going to build the apartment buildings the same size and just make bigger apartments. Like we have a 99-story building, but each floor is yours. Every floor is a penthouse.
Yeah, can't you just do like some sort of removable walls? You put the walls in like everyone comes with a wall and then adds it, and so you can build like a massive skyscraper that only technically has 99 units.
So
you make your cubicle.
Is they're now just building smaller 99 unit buildings. One of the people interviewed is they're breaking one project of 1,000 units into 6 different buildings. So they're on net getting fewer apartments created. Every single one of these 6 buildings is going to be under 100 units. So they're not even getting 600 units when I think the comparison was 1,000 if they built them all in one. But the wage difference is so large that developers can't afford the switch. So even though this is, neighborhoods for affordable New York or whatever the name of this bill is, like they're getting fewer housing units built because they've made it so much more expensive to build housing.
Typical New York. So Noah, congratulations, you destroyed me. Very good. So I think you ended up with 9 points to my 1. Let's go to a new segment. This is called I don't know what we're gonna call this, marketing department. We're trying to grow the podcast. So these are my marketing ideas. So I ran across. Have either of you heard of Donald Boat? Do you know?
Nope.
Do you know a Donald Boat?
No.
Okay, hold on. All right. So this guy Donald Boat. All right. So there's like some kid. He was like some kid in his like mom's basement or something. I'm not stereotyping. He literally says he's in his mom's basement in one of these tweets. So he just starts tweeting at like all these like big time like rich billionaires. Okay. So here we have Sam Altman. He's just like, Sam Altman's just tweeting something. And then Donald Boat responds, "Can you send me $1,500 so I can buy a gaming computer?" And he basically just does this over and over again in more creative ways. And so he tweets again at him, "I would love for you to wheel me around the Santa Clara Micro Center in a wheelchair like an invalid while I clickety-clack with a laser pointer the boxes of modules of the gaming PC you will purchase, assemble, and have shipped to my mother's house in the San Francisco Bay Area." So he does like these kind of like funny tweets. And he eventually starts getting the stuff. Like the people think it's funny, and they start actually buying him all the different components. So he gets like, here's the monitor he gets. And here's this tweet brick by brick, because he tweeted this guy, "Hey, do you have any monitors laying around your like offices?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, actually." And so he just says like he gets this monitor. And so he eventually builds this gaming computer, and it becomes kind of like this viral story. My favorite tweet of his is he just says, "I'm coming after the gross domestic product." Then people start asking to work for him. They start treating him like he's like a startup. And so one guy tweets at him, "Donald, are you hiring founding engineers?" And his response, "Find a way to engineer $500 into my bank account right now." And so he just keeps doing this. At one point, he like basically has Martin Shkreli, the pharma guy's phone number, and he's just bossing him around, making him go get him stuff, And somebody asks him about Martin Shkreli, and Donald Boat's response is, "He is my employee." And so this is the saga of Donald Boat, where basically he just starts asking, celebrities and billionaires for stuff, and he gets it. And so I thought about our podcast, and I was like, okay, what do I want? What's really going to help us out? And I know that we had Noah on today with occupational licensing. And I was like, occupational licensing for podcasts. If we could get the license and then stop other people from getting the license, this could be great for us. So I decided to spend my week tweeting at various famous people, influential people, to try to get some occupational licensing for podcasting. So I tweeted at Mr. Musk. I said, "Hey, there are 3 to 4 million podcasts and 2 good ones, mine and Decoding Alf. Podcasters should have a license." Tweeted that at him. I tweeted at Josh Hawley, asked him. Josh Hawley loves to regulate everything. So I said, "Can we get some occupational licensing for podcasting?" Tweeted at this guy, Brendan Carr. He's the head of the FCC. So I tweeted at him, "It's the year of our Lord 2025, and you're telling me anyone can buy a mic and start a podcast? Even someone who has done crimes?" And I don't know if you know the All In podcast. So the All In is one of these big, it's a big podcast by VCs. And they love to talk about weighted vests. I know you were talking about weighted vests last episode. So I tweeted at one of the All In guys. I said, and I had this picture of this cute baby in a weighted vest. And so I tweeted at them. I said, "My baby was exposed to the All In podcast in utero. Now he demands to wear a weighted vest and keeps asking to double click on his toys. Can we regulate podcasts too? Maybe some occupational licensing." So that was my quest this week.
Hey, that one has a like.
Yes. So Noah is noticing the responses. If we go back up, you could see no likes, no responses. Basically, I got no traction in my campaign. Oh, I guess I got 2 likes on the Elon Musk tweet. So, but anyways, no luck on my occupational licensing campaign for podcast. I was not as successful as Donald Boat, who was able to build an entire gaming PC. But we'll keep working on it. Any questions about my campaign, Ariel? Comments about my campaign? Ariel's just horrified
to about your campaign. I don't know if I have questions, Matt.
Okay, all right, okay.
There's an opportunity cost to all this time, you spent, campaigning for occupational licensing here. Did
That's
did
true.
your other work product suffer this week, Matt?
Maybe I should have spent. I should spend time making the actual product better. Is your assertion? Okay. All right. Next segment. Next segment. This is the Econ Illiterate of the week. Again, Econ Illiterate of the week. This week it is this video from the Planet Money TikTok. Here it is. He's talking about the government debt.
That sounds bad. Shouldn't we just pay it off?
Yeah, well, we did that once. Right after that, we had the longest depression in American history.
So he says, okay, we paid off the debt once and we had the longest depression in U.S. history. So you're probably thinking he's talking about the Great Depression, but he's not, because we did not pay off the debt right before the Great Depression. So then you're thinking, okay, maybe there's some other long depression that I don't know about. And so if you Google it, you do get there is something called the Long Depression. It's in the 1870s. But no, that's not what he's talking about. He's talking about the Panic of 1837. So this is incredibly misleading. You're thinking like, oh, depression, you save these other big ones, but no, he's talking about the Panic of 1837 because that's the only time the US government paid off its debt. Andrew Jackson pays off the government's entire debt. And then after that, investors are like, oh, what do we put our money in? There's no government debt. So they put all their money in land. This creates a land bubble. That pops. And then they're like, okay, great. The central bank's going to bail us out. Oh, no, wait. Andrew Jackson got rid of the central bank, too. So this is the crisis he's talking about. So a little misleading there from Planet Money to, it's very unclear what depression he's talking about. Now, then he goes on.
Right after that, we had the longest depression in American history.
Why?
To pay off debt, you're taking money out of the economy, money that could be bouncing around inside of it as investment.
So then he's sort of making this claim like, oh, it's bad. It was bad to pay off the debt. It led to that downturn in 1837, but it's not really comparable because, as I said, Andrew Jackson paid off the entire debt. And so if you look at our debt, this is our debt right now, it's like at 120%. We're not talking about paying off the entire U.S. debt. And so this situation that he's comparing to is not really comparable. And also, it's 1837. Like the U.S. is like a backwater economy. It's like populated by mostly drunk farmers at this time period. So this is not comparable at all. Now, to be fair, sometimes if your economy is in a downturn, you don't necessarily want to pay off debt. You want to actually do the reverse. You want to sort of pump money out there. So occasionally, you would want to, not pay off debt. But the U.S. is undergoing a period of expansion. So basically, the economy has been growing pretty steadily since the pandemic. So this is definitely a time where we should be paying down the debt. So Planet Money, you are the Econ Illiterate of the week for confusing people on which depression you're talking about and trying to say that Andrew Jackson paying off the entire debt and then murdering the central bank is somehow comparable to the situation that we are in today, where we have a 120% debt to GDP ratio while interest rates are increasing. Okay. All right. That's the Econ Illiterate of the week. Have you heard of the Panic of 1837, Noah?
I have not. This is my introduction to it. I'm chalking it up, though. I do some econ history. I'm pulling research ideas to put on the board after this.
So that's what I'm saying. It's incredibly misleading because if you're saying, hey, we paid off the debt and then we had the longest depression, in no world would you think you're talking about the 1837, the Panic of 1837, right? Like, I thought this is pretty insane coming from Planet Money that they would be
unlikely.
Yeah.
It's almost, to me, it's almost as bad as people that think that the current U.S. debt is the same way that I owe money on my mortgage. Like, it is not debt immediately to someone. It is the government selling bonds. We're in debt to the future us. We're not in debt like I borrowed $20 from my colleague to get lunch. Often I have students who are like, what's the deal with the debt ratio? And I'm like, okay, first, do you understand how government debt works? And the answer is usually no. And then we talk through that first before doing anything else.
Yeah. So, anyways, the Planet Money video, I mean, I'm consistently disappointed in the Planet Money TikToks. There's always almost always some egregious economic error in those Planet Money TikToks. And this one, I was like, what is he? When I first watched it, I was like, we didn't pay back the debt before the Great Depression. I was looking it up and I was like, yeah, Coolidge lowered the debt, but we didn't pay off the entire debt right before the Depression. And I was like, what could he be talking about? And I'm like, he's actually talking about 1837? And then trying to be like, yeah, that was, we shouldn't do that because the economy went into the trash can. All
I
right.
think it's bold to say 1837 is modern U.S. economic history.
I know. Well, this is always my favorite part where they were like, where people were arguing for tariffs are like, well, we had tariffs, in the the 1800s, and it was like part of our growth. And I was like, yes, we also didn't have the income tax, and like we also didn't have container ships and computers to like track things. It was like the only thing you could tax because like, how are you going to keep track of what's going on? It's like the boat comes in, it's the only thing to tax. Like, okay, I can tax that boat because they have to physically take the goods off of it. So I have to go on there. Like, that's the only thing I can tax. So yes, we had tariffs when like the only thing you could tax was shipping. All right. Econ in the wild. Our final segment, we talk about econ in our home life. So just a follow-up from last week. So last week, Noah, I don't know if you listened, but I pitched this idea of wedding, like a club where you would go and there'd be like a fake wedding. Because I was enjoying weddings and I was like, hey, they should make this at clubs. You go to the club and it's like a simulated wedding. And we were going to bust some old folks in from the old folks home. So I had this idea. Ariel was not taken with it. Noah, what do you think of the idea?
I mean, it's something, but if you're really looking to like attend a wedding, I just got engaged last month, so I can shoot an invitation out to you. You're welcome to come to my wedding.
Well, congratulations.
And
Where's the wedding?
The wedding, we're looking at a couple locations in Alabama and Georgia. So
Okay.
we got engaged in Chattanooga, Tennessee, which is beautiful mountain city, fastest internet in the country, fastest public internet in the country. We're looking at some locations kind of in that like mountainous area. My family and her family are from Northeast Alabama, foothills of the Appalachians. So we're trying to make like the commute for the family members not too big. But like I'm going to take a Donald boat here. Like if you want to give us like $10,000-$20,000, we'll host it anywhere you want. We get this club together. Everybody just chips in $300-$400.
Hey, you know what you should do? Just start tweeting at cities. Hey, we will come to your city and have our wedding there if you give us $30,000. Just start tweeting at random cities around you, Noah.
I'm here for it. Yeah.
There's no, or I could do that for you if you want. Yeah, I have the skill built in of being shameless and tweeting at anybody. And also shredding my econ credentials by being pro-occupational licensing. People can go pull my tweets. Ariel, would you like to apologize to me for my idea? Because a listener on Spotify, Donald Sulu, I believe, sorry if I'm misremembering your name, alerted me to the fact that this is already a thing. This is already a thing, the wedding idea club. It's already a thing in India. It's a huge thing in India. People go to clubs, have these fake weddings. The Gen Z loves it. So apparently this was already an idea.
I still strongly hold my opinion that this is
Okay, well,
I would
you're
go
not-
to a fake wedding. I enjoy
Thank you.
weddings too. Matt,
Thank you.
I'm kind of
Thank
with
you.
you.
Thank you. You're not invited on my next Indian. You're invited, Noah, on my next Indian trip. Ariel, you have to stay in New York, where you'll have a bunch of 99-unit apartments. Econ in the wild. Anybody have econ in the wild?
I have one. I have a story.
Okay.
I fell
All right.
prey to the sunk cost fallacy this past weekend. So I've been reading this book about the history of salt, which is actually, in my opinion, way more fascinating than I intended this book would be. All sorts of stories about salt taxes, salt monopolies, like government revenue raised by salt. But at about page 300, I was really getting tired of this book. And yet I cannot set a book down and not finish it, Matt. So I forced myself to spend another hour finishing this book because I'd already committed to the first 300 pages of it and I needed to complete it. So one, how do I get over my own problem that I have to finish the book? I'm one of those people that has to finish the book. Even though I recognized about halfway through reading this last part, I'm like, this is the sunk cost fallacy. I know that no matter, I'm not getting any value out of the last, page because they weren't stories about government taxes and people bootlegging, salt across India or things that were more interesting to me.
I don't know what to tell you, Ariel. I mean, not to brag, this is like my greatest skill in life. Like I can almost immediately recognize like if a book is good or not, and I bail on books constantly. The sample feature on Kindle, like you get the sample, that is like I love that because I can basically tell am I going to read the whole thing or not. But also I literally bailed on a book. I was halfway through an 800-page book and I just bailed on it. I just put it back on the bookshelf and ordered a new book to replace it. But also with TV shows, it's like you can spot when a TV show goes bad, or like you can spot, and most people just keep watching. I bail all the time. It drives my wife crazy because I'm like, we'll be watching a show and like we'll be mid like season 2 and I'll be like, I'm out, I'm done, sorry. It's like the writers have lost, they're out of ideas, and she'll be like, oh no, we gotta finish. in. She will always finish on her own. Now, she'll never admit I was right, but I was like, hey, so how'd it turn out? And she's like, it's okay. Never does she say, hey, you got to go back and watch. So I don't know what to tell you. You know, as the kids say, it's a skills issue, Ariel. You just got to get those skills and just...
The other question I have for you is, how do I lower search costs in finding books that I actually want to read all the way through to the end? Is there an economist take on how do I sort through the sea of books?
Well, I mean, I would be interested to hear what Noah has to say about this, because in my opinion, the value of books has gone down. Maybe that sounds like sacrilegious, but, you know, I think also a lot of times in the past, somebody would have like an idea that's maybe a 20-page idea, and then they'd stretch it out into a 200-page book. So for me, I have a much more, and I guess it depends on what you read books for. So I primarily read nonfiction books. I like nonfiction books. And I've done a lot of replacing nonfiction books with Substacks. And so I find that the quality of articles on Substack is like very, very high. And they're very dense in terms of like idea and anecdote dense. So I will find them often better than books. And so I've sort of substituted away from books, nonfiction books. So Noah, do you have any opinions on this?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like the cost of writing a book now is way low. The cost of publishing a book is way lower than it's ever been. You can self-publish. I have kind of two hacks that I kind of go with. One, I listen to a lot of podcasts in general. So I'll listen to this one that I'm on when it comes out, which is kind of self-loving a little bit. But any podcast I listen to, especially when it's just kind of like a sit down and chat type podcast, I like when the authors are talking, or the podcasters are talking about what media they're consuming. So I tend to consume podcasts that I enjoy, that are being produced by people that I enjoy listening to. And that's how I kind of come across a lot of books. Recently, I used to not be a please suggest a book to me kind of person. But I do now into my friend group reach out and say, hey, if you've read something recently, tell me about it, shoot me the link or whatever, and I might give it a try, because the search cost, now that there's so much out there, is just incredible. And my other hack is I'm an audiobook listener, so I commute about an hour to work, and so I am a huge audiobook consumer. I'm a fiction person. I'm Matt's polar opposite here. And what I do for audiobooks is I try to find somebody that I enjoy listening to, somebody that likes to do voices, and somebody with like a good audiobook narrator voice, because a bad narrator will kill a book for me. I DNF'd Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn because the audiobook, and this is trumped as one of the best fiction books of the 21st century. And I DNF'd it.
Trumpeted, right?
Yes, right. That's totally what I said.
Trump wasn't reading Sanderson. Trump wasn't
love it.
Brandon Sanderson, The Mist, love it.
Mistborn. No. One of the, all of my friends have recommended it. I see it on Reddit from like our fantasy. People love Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. Audiobook narrator was a little too dry for me, and I DNF'd. I'm going to have to get a physical copy and try to read it, just to give it another shot. So I go for the audiobook, and I go for somebody I like listening to. And then it turns out these people are just career audiobook narrators. So I just find other books they've narrated, and then I'll jump author to author that way. So that's been my kind of hack. And might I suggest, if you are a fiction lover, Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinniman is the book of the year for 2025.
Say that again.
Dungeon Crawler Carl. He was self-published, Matt Dinniman. They call it a lit RPG. It is a special type of book where the character gets put in like a video game or RPG type world. And Matt Dinniman self-published this. Years, I think like 2018, 2019 was the first book, self-published, wrote all through the pandemic, and something happened where it is blown up in the past 365 days. Target picked it up, like the initial book is for sale in Target. I've seen it. The audiobook narrator, Jeff Hayes, is an amazing human being. Think Looney Tunes level, voice changes between characters. And it is for a book that is supposed to be silly and kind of fun and fiction. It'll make you laugh out loud and cry at times. And so it's one of those where it's like this, I shouldn't care so much about this book.
What'd you say? It's lit what?
Lit RPG. So role-playing game.
So is that lit as in it's lit?
Literary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
Yeah. So it's a new genre out in the world for anybody who enjoys playing video games, you might enjoy reading or listening to a lit RPG.
No, that reminds me that I actually started listening to audiobooks last month. We're preparing for this Hamilton interview that we're
Okay.
doing, I think, in 2 weeks. So I got the Hamilton audiobook, and I've been going back and forth listening to it. But I actually really enjoy it because I sort of have downgraded my podcast consumption and sort of upgraded the audiobook consumption. And I enjoyed it. And I thought what would be cool to do is like start with Hamilton, which is like the founding of the US, and then go to like the next era, find a book from the next era, and sort of jump through these historical books all the way to the present. So what I did, Ariel, is I asked ChatGPT for a recommendation for the next book that I should go to after I said, hey, I'm loving Hamilton by Ron Chernow. What is the next one I should go to that is similar? So maybe ask
You have
ChatGPT.
rivals Doris Kearns Goodwin. Jump to Lincoln. It's a very well written biography.
When I get to that era, I'm still in the early 1800s. So I haven't even got to the I haven't even got to the greatest depression the U.S. ever had. All right. I have a letter. I have a letter from a listener. Okay, I have a letter from a listener. Hey, Professor Hill. This is from Haru. Shout out to Haru, listener, former student of mine. Hey, Professor Hill. I hope all is well. I was listening to Econ Nerds podcast, and I thought I'd share my Econ in the Wild with you. So I walk into the dentist's office for my checkup, and they end up informing me that I will need 2 root canals costing $590 for both teeth. Once I got home, I realized that there was a lecture on this about asymmetric information and people in the world with disadvantage trying to maximize their utility. And then he says, I, Haru, the lucky man who took Professor Hill's Econ 351 class, knew he should get a second opinion to avoid the asymmetric information. So he went to his mom's good friend, who's also a dentist, and it ends up he only needs 1 root canal. So good Econ in the Wild from Haru. Shout out for noticing this asymmetric information. This is technically the principal agent problem where the dentist incentivized to do as much. But also I would say Econ in the Wild, this is one of the advantages of like having a good network is I find for like all my doctors or optometrists, dentists, mechanic, those sorts of things, they're like family friends where the advantage there is it's a repeated game. You're going to see them at some birthday party or something like that. And so they're incentivized to treat you well.
Matt, I have a great fun fact for you. Dentists licensed.
I'm sure they need a license.
Actually, it's a famous Milton Friedman article talking about occupational licensing in the 50s. He's saying dentists are out here. They're trying to get licensed. Physicians have licenses. Dentists want it really bad. So one of the first written about instances.
And teeth whitening was a big case, right?
North Carolina 2013.
Yep. Yeah. But
I got that one in there. Yeah.
To me, it's like the dentist has got to be the one where it's like the most lopsided in terms of, I guess, dentist and mechanic, where they can basically tell you anything. They can tell you almost anything. Like they could be like, you need this, you need that. And you're like, oh, you have no idea. Right. So
and
really,
scary.
It is. That's why honestly, Haru's not lying. When I gave that lecture, I was like, always get a second opinion. This is one place where you definitely, if they tell you got to do all this stuff, like get a second opinion. Actually, my sister-in-law, she was like, I went to the dentist and they say I need $8,000 worth of work. And I was like, Ruki, for the love of God, get a second opinion. And she was like, no. And I was like, okay, I'm sure you need
What's
8,000.
the worst that somebody says you need more? Okay, go to the $8,000 guy.
I was trying to explain to her and I was like, well, she's like, they wouldn't do that. And I was like, it's $8,000. Like, come on, like go, like do something. I don't even know what you could do with $8,000 in your mouth. As someone who, I am someone with terrible teeth. And like, I don't think I've ever even come close to the 8,000. So,
okay, I have a solution for this, Matt.
Yeah.
I went to the dentist this week, but there's a new dental startup in New York. I don't even know if startup is quite the right word, but it's called Wally Dental, and you pay a flat fee for unlimited cleanings for a year. So they don't do any repair dental work. They'll identify it, and then you have to go somewhere else to get it done. But their incentive then is not to overtell you to go to somebody else because you'll just be really annoyed with them, right? Because they're not doing any of the repair, which is...
But why would they even tell you there's any repair work?
Well, so they want you to take care of your, like they do the x-ray scans and once a year, and they'll like to tell you, if you have cavities or whatever, tend to have, cross my fingers, really good teeth. So I thought
you were going to say you have 10 cavities. And I was like, oh, Ariel. I don't know about Wally Dental. Wally Dental sounds like they got a kickback from whoever they're referring you to.
I don't have cavities. And so to me, I just like max out however many cleanings I can schedule in a year. And I know my teeth are all like clean to good to go. but like they don't. I know when I'm walking in, they aren't going to tell me to go somewhere and get a second opinion and like get something fixed if because they're not benefiting from that, right? Like there's no incentive for them to overdiagnose problems. But I don't know like how common this arrangement is anywhere else.
I'd be doing weekly cleanings. I have an unlimited car wash subscription.
Yeah.
And I just drive through on the way home from work sometimes. Like a little bit of pollen on the car. I could just run through the car wash. I just car wash for my teeth. Let's do it.
I treat the car wash like the casket, where it's like I wash my car maybe once a year. So I'm like, I'm already married. Who am I trying to impress? Do you have any more econ in the wild? Ever any more econ in the wild?
I've got one. So
okay,
I just got back Labor Day weekend. We had a 3-day weekend. I'm in central Alabama. Troy is like a little more southern Alabama. We're about 2 hours from the beach. Not too far of a drive if you're used to being inland. For all you landlocked states, sorry. But one of my favorite things that I've seen, and I've looked into it now, is the flag system when you go to the beach. And it's the basic stoplight system, green, yellow, and red. Of course, there are like purple flags and some other ones that like mean stuff that I would have to look up if I saw them. But there's green, yellow, and red. Traditionally, my fiance is a huge connoisseur of Gulf Shores, Alabama. Alabama's got a little bit of beachfront. Gulf Shores is that little bit of beachfront. And the last time we were there, I noticed that it was just the calmest beach day I'd ever seen. Yet a yellow flag is flying. I'm like, what is going on? Like the water, like for the ocean is still. It's like a pond out there. I was like, why is this a yellow flag today? What's going on? Clear skies, no clouds, no storms anywhere in the Gulf. I looked into it, and Gulf Shores and the Alabama public beaches have elected to never fly the green flag. They have elected because it is never 100% safe to swim in the ocean. There is always a probability of a riptide. And for me, this is a expectation setting thing. Now, I have no idea if it's actually yellow flag or if it's like green flag, but it's yellow flag. Like it's a good day. So now I'm having to step out onto the beach going, I don't think it's a yellow flag day, but like, how would I know? So the Alabama public system, in some areas, a green flag is used to indicate calm or mild conditions. The ILS does not include a green flag in its guidelines because it suggests that conditions are completely safe. In the view of the ILS, there is always a potential hazard when entering the ocean. So we've just eliminated it's a good day signal from the entire system, which is so lovely to me.
What concept is this? Is this like risk aversion or something? What would you say in terms of econ?
It's the same, like we get the weird warning labels, like don't use your ladder in a lightning storm, right?
Oh no, the ones I hate, it's always like I get like the text like extreme weather, and it's like it'll be 85 degrees on Friday, and I'm like, okay, 85 degrees. It's like this like the over, I don't know what it is, like safetyism or
So that is my my econ in the wild is the over like warning of like beach signals in the Gulf of Mexico or the Gulf of America. Sorry.
Yeah, come on, please.
I'm not going to get this podcast canceled.
I don't know if we have those in California. I'm trying to think back because I was a beach lifeguard. I don't remember these flags being a thing. I don't know if
that's interesting. Okay, maybe it's an East Coast thing.
It might be an East Coast thing. I also may be misremembering. We do have like some sort of system, but
the ones flown in the Alabama system are yellow, meaning medium hazard, moderate surf or currents. Red, meaning high hazard, high surf and or currents, and purple, which can be flown with red and yellow, which means dangerous marine life. So things like jellyfish, men of war, everything. It's not meant to signal sharks. And then of course there's like water closed to public, which is a double red flag with like a no swimming on the second red flag.
Shark gets his own flag. Shark is just what? Like
Shark gets a lot of yelling, I think is usually how that goes.
Screaming.
Yeah.
All right. Any more econs in the wild? Do we have any more econs in the wild out there? Okay. All right. Well, Noah, thanks for coming on. This has been a delight. Congratulations on the coming nuptials. We will expect an invitation, or at least let us know the location, so maybe we can just
sell
drop by.
Tickets to your wedding now. There's an app.
Oh, I could.
You sell tickets to your wedding.
There we go.
Sell tickets.
This was
I could have a second
origin
wedding
of Matt's, before Matt's wedding club idea. I found this article about selling tickets to your wedding.
All right. Well, thanks again for coming on, and listeners out there, hey, write to us. We had the most listener interaction last week. Got multiple comments and emails. So yeah, write to us. Let us know what you think, or if you have an econ in the wild, we will share it. And until then, we will see you next week.